check on injury news first of all. On Alisson, Jota, they're on course to be ready straight after the international break. So would they be ready for Southampton away? And any further update on Chiesa and when he might be available to you as well?
Yeah, I think I said it already a few times that it's always difficult to exactly tell you when they are ready, because especially the last phase of the recovery can always be a few days extra or less. So the fact is that they are not there before the international break, and let's see if they can join us after.
Chiesa, you've got.
Yeah, Chiesa is not back before the international break, but that's only a week to go. So we're hoping that he can do things again during the international break and that he then can join us afterwards.
It's been a couple of weeks, so I'm going to ask the contract question a little bit differently today. After Chelsea, Virgil said that discussions are ongoing regarding his contract, and after the Arsenal game he said let's see what happens towards the end of the season. So when does the contract situations become a problem in terms of your planning for next season?
For me, the contract situation could become a problem if the players don't perform as well as they do at the moment. Although, of course, then it's also not sure that if they perform not as good anymore, that has anything to do with their contract situation. At the moment, all three of them are in a good place. They all perform really, really, really well. And there are ongoing discussions between what Virgil said, the people he had to talk with. So, and that's not me, as you know. I talked to him about other things. And yeah, let's wait and see. But yeah, I think all what he says, he's completely right in that he doesn't exactly know what the future brings as long as he doesn't sign the contract yet.
And no further update, obviously.
Not from my side, no.
Have you learned anything more about your squad this season? The way you've been able to rotate, you're through to the next round of the FL Cup, you've got a 100% record in the Champions League as well, and you're only just off top spot in the Premier League. So what have you learned about its ability to challenge on all four fronts?
I think you learn every day, especially if you are not as long with the team as I am. So then you learn every day from new situations. And I've said before, the Chelsea game was something I learned from them, that they could sit deep and defend the lead. The way they came back against Arsenal was really strong, and the amount of games that we have to play, that they are still able to be available and play good football, that is also something you see. And then we also saw during the week that players that haven't played that much maybe have an impact on our team as well, and we will need them during the whole season. So it's good to see that they are already on a level they need to play for us.
Does it feel strange to be playing Brighton again so quickly after just a few days ago? Does that affect your preparation at all in terms of how you look at this game?
No, it's not that strange for us in football, because in the older Champions League or Europa League world, you faced mostly, especially if it went to playoffs, you faced the team after a week again. So in football we are used to playing the same team maybe after a few days. So it's not weird, especially because both teams didn't start with the team they will start with on Saturday, and it's, I think, for the both managers a positive thing, because you know even more about the opponent. Although, like I just said, players make the game, and it's of course a difference if a different player plays. The playing style might be the same, but the qualities of the players make 9 or 10 times the difference. So that changes the game on Saturday, of course, compared to the one on Wednesday.
And in terms of the managers, having seen Hürzeler and what he's done so far, a lot's been made about the fact that he's so young. Does that make any difference, do you think? Obviously, if you've got experience, it can be a big help, but do you go with the old saying that if you are good enough, you are old enough?
Yeah, I think that is also definitely true with players. Some managers maybe need first 20 years of experience to come to this level. They need this, and some talents. That's also with players the same, and this can be with managers as well. They just have it in their fingers. Is that a saying you have here as well? Probably not.
That's a new one for us.
And he's probably one of them, because he's done really well at his former club, and he's done really well till now here in England also. So for him, experience is probably not such a big thing. And maybe I had a bit the same. I think I had 1.5 year experience before I joined Feyenoord. So there are exceptions, but in general, I think it's also good to have some experience. But there are exceptions to that rule.
Arne, injuries deprived you of 2 key players in terms of forwards on Wednesday night in Jota and Chiesa. You left Salah and Nunez on the bench. What impressed you most about your front play, given you scored 3 goals, you created a lot of chances, and how can that inform your thinking moving forward, maybe?
The good thing was that when you look at our front line, that we could play 2 of our regular starters with Cody Gakpo and Lucio Diaz, and they had a big impact on the score sheet, of course. The way we filled in the number 9 position was interesting to see, because I think it worked out really well. But in the end, I prefer to play with a real number 9. But it is maybe now an extra possibility that we have if we have injuries. Although maybe with Jota, who's also a bit of a 9.5, we implemented that style already. But to play with Curtis and Dom, those are definitely midfielders. With Diogo is a striker. So it was good to see that we could score 3 goals even without playing with a old-fashioned number 9.
If you look at what Brighton have achieved over the last 10 or 15 years, it's one of the great footballing stories, really. And in more recent years, their recruitment policy has been a beacon for lots of other teams to try and follow. What makes them such a threat on match day? Because they're so positive in their footballing outlook, whoever the manager is, whatever the players they have, and they can cause problems for the very best teams.
Yeah, I wouldn't say whoever the manager is, because.
But if you look at the managers that have come and gone,
Yeah.
they keep on replacing them with managers that have gone on to achieve great
Yeah, the
things.
last 3 of them were impressive with Potter, De Serbi, and Ahuis. But that is not whoever the manager
No,
is.
no.
It's all 3 of them are really good managers, and especially in the last 2.5 years. And I said this before the game as well. Sometimes you tend to forget these things because it's not such a big club. We only talk here a lot about the spending of especially Chelsea and a bit from Man United. But I saw the stat when Eric left the club, how much in this 2.5 years he had spent. But you were on the same list. I saw that Brighton was only 10 to 15 million underneath us. The both of us were just on the sheet. But so that also tells you that it's not that strange that they do so well. They've sold for a lot of money, but they also bought for a lot of money. And if you add towards 3 very good managers, it's for me not a surprise that they do so well for so many years now.
Hi Arne. I wanted to ask you about something you said with Sander Westerveld in that interview, where you talk about trying to inject energy and confidence into the training sessions. Obviously in a time like this where it's really an intense period of the time, where you maybe don't have as much time on the training pitch because of travel and recovery, how important are the players in terms of trying to reinforce that message? I think particularly the instance of Gerard Kwanzaa, who obviously didn't have the kind of game that he'd have liked against Brighton and may not necessarily get a chance to get on the pitch again for quite some time. How important is the leaders, the Joe Gomez's, the Virgil van Dijks, in helping to inject that confidence back into him?
They are important, as every teammate is important for every player. But I don't agree with everything you said. So mostly we agree. But this time I think Joel played a very good game. The only issue he has at the moment, that if he has a moment that is not perfect, it immediately leads to a goal. That's what happened in this game. He was, in my opinion, unlucky. But and I know you cannot judge a player on leaving those 2 moments out because they are so vital for results. But he is getting better and better and better, and he was already really good. So for him, it's that last step maybe to make, which you've already shown in the past that he can play a game without making this small mistake. So he's a bit in an unlucky period when it comes to if he makes a small mistake, it immediately leads to a goal. But if I look at his overall performance, I really liked what I saw. He was confident on the ball. Also, when we conceded that one, it was not out of, oh, I'm afraid to make a decision. It's just by taking initiative, and these things can happen, in my opinion. So I liked the way he played. Yeah, like I said, he was a bit unlucky with the second goal as well. But that is, for me, that was not his game. So I wouldn't say he is not able to play in the upcoming days or weeks. He is definitely in competition with two centre backs that are hardly making any mistake at the moment. But apart from the mistakes, I think he played similar to Virgil and Ibu with a lot of confidence, playing the ball out from the back, defending really well. So for me, it was a good performance, but a bit unlucky in the end.
Bruce?
Liverpool has always been such an information and analysis-driven club. Can you talk about how receiving that information has maybe helped your transition here, and then specifically in the instance of playing the same club twice in a row, is there an advantage because you are getting this analysis maybe more than you would somewhere else?
That last thing, I don't know. The analysts I get is mostly looking at the videos, looking the game back, and then see what they do, see what we can do better. And sometimes we add to that a bit of data, but it's not like on a daily basis for looking for 2.5 hours in all the data I get at this club. There is a lot of data if we want to, but the most things we do is looking the game back and making clips for the players on a team basis or an individual basis.
So you're not really a coach who uses data very much?
Yes, we do, but not 2.5 hours a day. So you get some data, and I tend to use it whenever it's comfortable for me. But the data we do use, but I think that's at every club at any serious level at the moment, that's performance related. And that is data that we definitely use because we want to keep the players as much available as we can. So therefore we use a lot of performance data, but I don't think Liverpool is any different than all the clubs in the Premier League, and I think all around the world.
And I just on Alexis McAllister, who's obviously faces form club tomorrow. When he was at Brighton, he played a little bit the attacking midfield role. He scored 10 goals in his last season before he joined Liverpool. Played a little bit deeper maybe at the club. Do you see him maybe playing in that number 10 role for yourself, or do you prefer him where he can pick the ball and dictate play a bit more?
He's a player that I would maybe play at all three positions in the midfield because he's so comfortable in all these three positions. I think I saw quite a lot of him at Brighton because there was a manager I was quite interested in back then. That was De Zerbi, of course. Playing double six there as well. And in some moments he also played as, like you said, as a 10. He can play both. I think he is now in the moment our midfielder plays a bit in between. So Ryan is almost always the deepest. Dom or Curtis are playing a bit higher, and then he's in between. And it depends on how dominant we are, if he is the second 10 or if he has to be the second 6. But he's comfortable in both phases of the game. He can help a lot with us bringing the ball out from the back. And he's also capable of making the difference in and around the 18-yard box. So we like to see him in both situations as much as we can.
Arne, you've rotated at left back quite a bit so far this season. Over recent years, it's always been Andy Robertson first choice, Kostas as the backup option. Is that now becoming more of a dilemma for you in terms of that battle for that spot?
No, I wouldn't say a dilemma. It is on more positions where we've rotated, so you're maybe a bit focused on the left fullback position, but the left wing has been under rotation. On the midfield we've rotated, as in the 9 position we've rotated. So it probably also has to do with Robbo's pre-season. And what does that mean? He had no pre-season because he came back injured from the Euros. So he missed almost complete pre-season. which was for most of them only 2 weeks, but for him it was only a few days. So, and Kostas did really well in that period of time. So it has to do with the quality Kostas brings in that position, but it definitely also has to do with Robbo missing pre-season. So that's why we started rotating from the start a bit, because if a player didn't have any pre-season, there was no time to bring him towards a situation where he could play 3 games in a row. Because we tried to build up our players for that program, and for him that was difficult because he missed out on pre-season where others were there. So yeah, that's his situation, and I think was good for him to play Arsenal, and now again the game against Brighton during the week. That makes sure that he's getting into that rhythm of playing twice a week.
Arne, we've seen managers come into the league, come into new big clubs and not put as much emphasis on the cup competitions, focusing on the league. You look like Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, they focus on the league first. How important is the FA Cup and Carabao Cup to you?
If it's the next game, it's a really important one. On Tuesday it was the next game, so it was really important. Yeah, I played both times. I didn't play our starters, so is it then for me not important? No, it's really important for me, because I think because we've played so many games, it was a good moment for the other ones to play, because at that moment I felt they were better able to win that game for us than the one that have already played so many games. And now we won it, and you probably tell me, yeah, you put a lot of emphasis on this cup. If we would have lost it, you would have said, yeah, if you miss out on so many starters, it's a logical result. We want to win every game. We want to compete for every trophy, especially if it's one we have to defend. So and that is with the Carabao Cup, and the FA Cup is coming in January. So let's think about it then. But people already told me that it is a very important cup to win.
Thanks, Arne.